I just can't tell you what it is to have a movie made of a book that one has written. I wrote The House of the Spirits 12 years ago, and when I started writing on January 8th, 1981, I didn't know what I was doing. I had absolutely no experience in literature. I didn't know that I was writing a book. I thought I was writing a letter for my grandfather who was dying in Chile. When they told me that Meryl Streep was going to be Clara, Jeremy Irons was Esteban Trueba, Glenn Close was Ferula, etc., I had a bit of a shock, because for the first time there were faces to these characters, and the faces were not the real faces of my relatives. So I thought, they're so blonde and so foreigner. And now that I see them in costume, with the wigs and the makeup, it could be them. Not that they look alike, but the essence of the people are there. Well, I do believe that there is much more than this body and this mind to any human being, or any animal, or any object, or any plant. There is a spirit, and that life force, that energy that is the spirit, stays for a while in this planet, but it is a very long journey, and we don't know where the spirit comes from or where it will go after we die. In a way, I think it was a prophetic ending to the book, because it later happened in Chile. 7 years later, the dictatorship was defeated in an election with no violence from the people, because the people said, okay, we will stop the violence. We will not reproduce this circle of violence. We will not rape the rapist, torture the torturer, kill the killer. We want justice, but not revenge. And the people were able to do that in a pacific way. From the historic point of view, it's pretty rare. Usually it doesn't happen that way. I'm very proud that it happened in Chile. And I'm also very proud that, in a way, my book was like a premonition to what was going to come so many years later.
And then I started to make the script, but it was very easy, I think, because for me it was very obvious what scenes was good for the movie and which scene I had to leave out of the story, and also which character I think was necessary to keep in the story in order to tell. My ambition was to tell exactly the same story as Isabel did in her book, and I think today, the script is almost, it's the same story we are telling as you do in your book.
It's a combination of a lot of things, and be very, very prepared. I am really doing my best to be very prepared and try to predict all the problems that can appear in the shooting, and I think if you know exactly what you want to do, then everybody knows what you want to do, and then you can start to improvise if you feel that, but you can never improvise over an improvisation. I think this film has a very, very important message. It's first of all, it tells that love is very, very important. It's something you should really care for. You should care for other human beings. But it also tells that if human beings has the ability to forgive and not to seek revenge, then there's hope for the world. And I think that's really, really, and that's how the whole story, our whole movie ends.
Ja, Lissabon ergibt sich aus der Gesamtüberlegung, in Portugal zu drehen. Und die portugiesische Landschaft ist in ihrer, sagen wir, Weite einzigartig in Mitteleuropa. Und das ist ähnlich wie in Südamerika oder in Chile, wo der Film original spielt. Aber die Frage Lissabon hat sich sozusagen in dem Zusammenhang dann gleich mitergeben. Das heißt, in diesem Film geht es eigentlich darum, um den Widerstreit und um sozusagen diese große Liebe, die zwischen Clara und Esteban passiert. Und Halt, Clara ist eine total esoterische Person und Esteban ist sozusagen dieser Übermann, der sozusagen nicht nur mit beiden Beinen, sondern mit beiden Beinen, beiden Händen, mit seinem Kopf und seinem Geschlecht am Boden ist. Oder am Boden haftet, sagen wir. Und aus diesen unglaublichen Gegensätzen entsteht ja auch diese unglaubliche Liebe. Und der Kampf von beiden ist der Film. Und was übrig bleibt, wiederum, ist die Message, dass es eigentlich gar nicht so darauf ankommt, wo der eine herkommt und der andere herkommt, sondern dass was übrig bleibt, ist, dass es das Leben ist, dass es eben jetzt gibt und hier und jetzt gelebt werden muss. Filme machen ist eine lange Zeit der Langeweile, die unterbrochen wird von kurzen Momenten der Panik.
He believes in hard work. He believes that people should earn their deserts. He believes that the campesinos don't understand how to run the country, therefore should not have a vote. And so he's what we would now describe as a sort of right-wing reactionary. But at the time, certainly a man of his age. He's not a sympathetic man. I think it's very important that Esteban be disliked for the large part of the film because he is hard. I hope the audience will understand what makes him so, but I don't think they'll like him, and I think that's right for the structure. What I think happens at the end of the story is that as he gets older, he sweetens, and he is forgiven by his wife. It's one of the things that our story is about forgiveness, and about the fact that we must, as a race, forgive each other and stop wanting to settle scores and stop wanting to revenge, but actually to accept that people are what they are because that's how they've been made. And although I hope we won't like him through the picture, at the end, his wife, when talking to his daughter, says, you know, your father isn't malicious, he just has too much energy. And I think that's a pretty good summing up of Esteban. I was a great admirer of Billy August. I liked the two films of his I'd seen. I liked the performances he got out of actors, which is always a sign for an actor. You look for that because you think, you know, a director may be good at story or maybe good at camera work or maybe good at cutting. But if he also gets good performances out of his actors, then obviously he takes care over that. And strangely enough, some directors in film aren't very interested in performance. So I thought 3 years ago, if that can be made and if Billy can make it, I want to be involved in it.
One of the unique things about Clara is that she is just exactly where she is when she is there. She exists exactly in the moment, and so that was a great part of my task, was to make her simply present. For me, it was a much more profound thing than tears could release. I thought it was a profound message that you're left with at the end of this film, and it engages your mind as well as your heart. And the idea is an old one, but it's that love conquers all, and we must be forgiving. But Billy, if he sees it, he trusts his judgment, and the quality of his listening is so acute that he should. I mean, he has impeccable taste, so.
It's like crawling into somebody else's skin, and if the house that you go into is very, very different from yours, it takes a while to get used to it. And so it took me a while to get used to. Now I feel more at home. Jeremy came up to me, I think, in the first week and said, "Isn't it nice we're making this home movie?" Because this is the third thing I've done with him, so I know him very well. And Meryl, I feel like I've known because we have a lot of mutual friends, but we just had never worked together. I feel like I'm working with my sister. This movie is very much his vision. I mean, we did it because he fought to have it done, and he fought to have it done without compromise, and I have deep respect for that. And because he has such a strong vision as an actor, you choose to trust that. It can be very comforting to work for a director who he doesn't force you to do what he sees. You just feel that he knows what he wants, and it can be comforting in a way, and it also can be very frightening because you are asked to trust that vision. But I think all of us feel that Billy is a man in whom we can place our trust.
Pedro casi entronca directamente con personajes vivos y personajes que existieron como el Che Guevara, o sí, ese tipo de personajes, ¿no? que han luchado por las libertades de los demás. Es un hombre que admite el sacrificio en sus propias carnes para conseguir un ideal, es un idealista. Isabel entronca mucho, ya te lo he dicho antes y te lo voy a repetir, entronca mucho con la literatura de García Márquez, ¿no? Pero esto, viniendo de la mujer, gana en un espacio de sensibilidad quizás mayor, ¿no? A mí lo que más me sorprendió de todas formas de la novela es, tratando temas tan fuertes como los que estaba tratando, que tuviera y que dedicara un espacio tan grande a la magia de la vida, a la sensibilidad, al misterio, a todo ese tipo de cosas. Los personajes morían y regresaban. ¿Sabe? Todo ese feeling que ella tiene alrededor de la muerte, que no se produce definitivamente, sino que los personajes mueren, vuelven, entran, salen. La vida es como un río que no tiene final, de alguna manera. Todos somos parte de todos.
A mother and a woman who helps her daughter to survive something that she wouldn't have survived if she didn't have a mother like Nivea. But also through the story of House of the Spirits, you find others, each in their own way, helping people to survive